Hi, this is Fred Green of Golf Smarter with our Spring Back into Golf season with the late Tony Manzoni. This episode was the third time Tony returned to our show. We're bringing back every conversation we had with Tony in order before he passed away in 2018. To learn more about Tony and our tax-deductible fund created in his memory to benefit the first tee of Coachella Valley, please go to golfsmarter.com/Tony. Make sure to put Tony in all lowercase. There you'll find as much as we could find about Tony online and links to his book, The Lost Fundamental, One Simple Move, Better Golf Forever. It's available on Amazon in paperback and the Kindle format. His DVD of the same name can now also be seen online through our private channel. To gain access, please write to me directly via email, golfsmarterpodcast@gmail.com, or click on the Hey Fred button at golfsmarter.com. Enjoy. Golf Smarter number 291, published on July 26, 2011. One Simple Move, Better Golf Forever, with Tony Manzoni.
This is Golf Smarter, sharing tips and insights from golfers and golf professionals to help lower your score. It's worked for your host, Fred Green.
Welcome back to the Golf Smarter podcast, Tony.
Hey, Fred, how are you?
I am so glad to hear your voice once again. We had such a great time when we came down to Palm Desert and spent that morning with you. Thank you so much. My buddy Neil and I came down to Palm Desert and played some golf. But before we even started our golf, we got a chance about an hour and a half to give Neil a lesson. Neil had never had, he's been playing golf most of his life. He's never had a lesson. This is the first time that he'd ever had a lesson. And I was able to capture it on video with two different cameras running at the same time. So I'm very excited to announce that not only is this podcast now available, but a video of Neil's lesson given by Tony Manzoni. The very first lesson on video by Tony Manzoni has been posted to YouTube and the Golf Smarter TV channel. I'm so excited. Thank you.
That was great fun, I'll tell you that. And Neil responded. I wish I could get everyone to do it that quickly. It really was terrific.
Yeah, and it was funny because all during the round of golf that we had that day in 35-mile-an-hour winds, he was like, he was so focused on what he had learned from you that morning, and even after our round, that he didn't say, he said, just don't write down my score. I don't want to know about score. I said, good for you, because you're working on something. And then after the round of golf, we went back to the driving range, and he worked even harder on it. And one more thing, he had never gone to the driving range after a round of golf. Is there a lot of value for players? Because we always see the guys on the tour, they go to the driving range after a round of golf. Is that a good thing for us to do?
Oh, sure, because you have a real clear memory of what just transpired on the golf course and some of the things that didn't work out, and that's where you work a lot. I mean, Ben Hogan was one of the first pros to do that when he got through with a round of golf and shot an incredible score in most cases, and still was out there practicing because he had a 2-iron that he didn't like or so forth. So it's very beneficial for people to do that at any level.
Fabulous. Well, let's talk about, congratulations, your book is now available, and we have it on our on our website at golfsmarter.com. In our Golfer's Mart, we're going to feature it in the Golfer's Mart, and it's going to be highly visible. It's called The Lost Fundamental, One Simple Move, Better Golf Forever. And that really is your theory, huh? It's if you understand the move, you can adjust it yourself, and it's going to change your game.
Well, it's very simple, and when you purchase the book, and I hope you will, for a number of reasons, I think you'll be amazed at the brevity of the book, and I did that intentionally. I've only had one negative comment of all the people I've sent this book to, and I've sent it to a lot. One fellow that thought it was more of a pamphlet, and it really isn't. But when I was writing the book, it was becoming a great American novel, and Paul Cervantes, who was very helpful in the writing of this book, helped me reduce my thoughts to make them simple. And I can tell you that I've had more people write me and say, "Thank you for making this thing so simple." Because most golf books, you start falling asleep because they get into such detail. And I really believe that if you do certain things in the golf swing, there's a domino effect that happens, and we don't have to deal with those pieces. Cause and effect is everything. So if I can set you up to the golf ball properly, and you finish in a position relative to the ball properly, a lot of things are going to occur, and that's what I find is happening.
Well, and it's not just that the book is brief, but the descriptions are fairly brief. I mean, you can go through 2 pages and get 2 or 3 descriptions of what you're trying to explain, which, again, I think is incredibly helpful.
Well, that was my intention, is to say it again and then say it again, because really there's just a few core moves that you have to learn, and gosh, it's like a miracle. I mean, you could see what happened with Neil. I mean, he hit some tremendous shots with no side spin, with great trajectory. After just a few minutes of do this, do that, and he got right into it.
Well, he did. And when he made a shot, when we were playing together, he knew what he did right and what he did wrong after each shot. It was really fascinating because I've seen people who had taken lessons and were working on so many things at once, but it just seemed so simple to him, so clear that with every shot that he took, he got it. And he knew what he had to adjust.
Yeah, as I told him, you can either be a disconnector and rotate the arms, or you can be connected and rotate the body. And actually, when you pull the arms down in the downswing and detach them from the body, that's when thin, fat shots occur because it holds you behind the ball. So you can play the game of golf and not blame your swing so much as just one action that you're doing that you need to not do, and that would be to stay connected and not drop the arm. We all played golf. For those of us that have played golf for a long time, we were taught to do that: pull the arm down, pull down on the ball, hit down on the ball. All those phrases, and what it does is it just gets one part working. That's the arms and hands, where the body just stalls out. So we're losing all the power of the core. And I wish I had just discovered this a little bit earlier in my life than now, but it's improved my game dramatically. I'm hitting the ball so much farther than I have in, say, 30 years. And I find that with all my students.
That's really unbelievable that you're getting more distance. Neil definitely was getting more distance. Although I don't know why, but I was still out driving him that day, and he goes, "Well, how come you're out driving me?" I said, "Because I'm older than you." He's like, wait a minute, that's not right. So let's go over this. Also, let me just say the other part about the book that I found so much fun. First of all, there's photographs. So you have a really clear description of exactly what you're talking about. But then at the end, you have stories of people that you've come across and people you've met and dedicated the book to. So really, the book flies right by. It's really, really helpful. And that's one of the things that I think that people should be checking this book out. It's a worthwhile. It's not an investment, but it's definitely worth coming to golfsmarter.com and checking out The Lost Fundamental by Tony Manzoni. It's a really helpful book, and there have been a lot of Golf Smarter listeners who've been in touch with you, haven't they?
Oh, absolutely. I've had a tremendous amount that I talk with via email or that have come down physically and taken a golf lesson from me. We had a golf school called the Single Pivot Golf School, and we did 5 schools, and they were really, really well received. But I continually get mail from folks that have heard about me on Golf Smarter. I had no idea that you had such an audience. It's incredible.
Well, it's an active group, and they're passionate about their golf, and that's why I think that they reached out to you, because you're pretty clear on what you're talking about, and it's not too convoluted. There's not a lot going on at once.
I hope so, because that's my intention. I was like a lot of instructors for years, just kind of pontificating all this golf dogma, and you can see the people's eyes just glaze over, and no one is going to tell you, "Gee, I don't know what you mean." They're just going to let it go over their head, and then you'll never see them again. So I realized early on in my golf teaching that there had to be a better way than this, and then luckily for me, I started looking at Ben Hogan and reading everything I could about the man, and that's how I formed this method, because it really is born out of that period of time.
I'll tell you, it's interesting because when I'm directing a video shoot, or when I'm doing the shoot, when I'm the camera person, or I have multiple cameras going, anything like that, and that's pretty much what my career has been, is a recording engineer, both video and audio. It's very hard for me to concentrate on the content while I'm doing it. So when I'm recording somebody else, I'll miss a lot of what the conversation is because I'm watching the dials and knobs and everything to make sure that the production value is right. I can't believe that as far as I know, I only took away from Neil's lesson, I took away 2 major points that when we played golf that weekend, we played 2 rounds after that, like one day right after the next, how much straighter the ball was, the ball flight was for me. I generally have a slight fade to the ball. I was hitting the ball much straighter because of 2 things that I picked up from the lesson. One is on my backswing, as much as I try to keep my lower body quiet, I still have a tendency to have my left knee bend in, pointing across my body. But what I got from you was keeping the left knee pointed straight ahead. And
that's correct. That's correct.
That was huge for me.
Yeah, it stabilizes the stance, and it allows you not to put weight on the right side, which we really don't want to do. We want to stay on the front side weight-wise. In fact, when we set to the ball, we brace left, and then as we coil the body, displace the weight backwards via the right shoulder, right hip. We actually put more weight against the brace and steepen the brace of the right leg. That makes the right leg really light. And all you have to do from that point there, because you're at impact already, from there you just rotate your upper body. The legs stay, because they're underneath you, they stay right with you. And it's just so much simpler to get to the left side, totally to the left side, where your chest is really left of the target. When you're moving side to side, it's really hard to get to that point for anybody, really.
Unbelievable. Now, you talked about Hogan shooting into the 50s. You actually have shot you were telling me this one story. I'm still trying to get the full grasp of this. What's your lowest round?
61. And it was on a funny day because the day before, the club announced to me that they wanted to put some kind of a biography of myself and my past in the paper, and they were hiring me as the head professional. This was going to be my first job as a head professional. I had a big party the night before and a lot of pats on the back, and the next morning the manager told me, well, wait a minute now, we spoke a little too soon. We have to talk to one more applicant. And as it turned out, they chose the applicant.
Why, did he shoot a 60?
No, he just had more experience, but not only didn't I get the job, but they announced to me that he was bringing his own staff in, so I was going to be out of a job in 30 days. So a couple of, yeah, I know, it was really, I can remember it. A couple of members says, "Come on, Pro, let's go out, let's go play." So we played the golf course, and it was kind of a blur to me. And when I put it out on the last hole, they said, "You just broke Glenn Terry's record. He shot 61." Well, first of all, we mentioned in the same, category with Ken Venturi.
Right.
I should have been falling to my knees and thank God. But just like all golfers, the first thing that's eked out of my pea brain was, gee, and I didn't birdie a par 5, which I hadn't. But,
that was my next question. You really were
so we're
like,
never satisfied.
Right. Is that really true that you like that? Oh, there was one hole I should have had. I shoulda, woulda, coulda, right?
Yeah, we all do that. I say that to my golf team all the time. No matter what we do out there, we always come back with, I could have done this. Sometimes we're not really thankful for the blessings we get when it comes to golf.
Did you really not realize how you were shooting during the round?
I had no idea. In fact, to this day, I have very little memory of it. I was in such a funk about not only losing my job and everything, but the night before, I had all these close friends patting me on the back, telling me great job and all these things. Now I had to go back and tell them, hey, I'm not working at Alameda anymore. This is going to be the shortest job career of all time. Wait. It really. I mean, now I look back at it and I laugh about it, but then it was pretty serious stuff.
Wait, now I got to get the time frame correct here. You had the big party, and the next day you went out and shot a 61?
Well, yeah, the next day I couldn't wait to get to the course. I had all these ideas I was going to do. We just had a shell, the previous project, everything. I mean, I almost took the paint off the walls. But I had an idea, all the things I was going to do, and then I was put on hold until the afternoon. They said, "Don't worry, we've got one more applicant. No big deal." And of course, when the manager came in about 1:00 in the afternoon, his face was white because I knew, and he couldn't even look at me. And when he announced to me that not only didn't I have a job.
So the celebration was not about shooting 61. The celebration was because you'd gotten your first head pro job.
That's correct.
And you went out and shot a 61 after all that celebrating, and it was a competitive round?
No, it was just a round. A couple of members just felt so bad for me.
Okay.
They said, "Come on, pro, let's go out and play," because they heard what had happened. Because a lot of people at the club had said, "Great job, we're really happy to have you as our new pro." But the management company, which owned the golf course, had made the decision to hire this fellow that had more experience, and I understood that. But it was like a kick in the groin, I can tell you that. So when I went out to play, that was on my mind. What am I going to say? Where am I going to get a job? All these things. So I was kind of playing from my subconscious, which is what we really need to do, obviously. And as it turned out, I shot a great score. And I think that I'm pretty sure that record is still in place.
Yeah, at the Almaden?
Yes.
Almaden Country Club, is that what it is?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you don't remember the round. I mean, you can't tell me. Do you know how many pars that you had in that round, or how many?
No, I wouldn't.
Birdies?
All I know is I was aware that I had not birdied a par 5. That's the only thing I was aware about. But I obviously made a lot of birdies if I shot 61.
Yeah.
I don't believe I made any bogeys. I think I holed out from the fairway once for a 2. On a par 4.
So you had one eagle. You think you had one eagle, right?
Yeah, the rest of it was birdies, I think. And really, I'd love to be able to say, well, I had 10 birdies, but I don't remember it because it wasn't in my mind or in my heart while I was doing this. I was just thinking of how embarrassed I felt and how I was going to tell all my friends, well, I spoke too soon, and I really hadn't spoke too soon. I was told, you got the job, okay. But it was just an awkward position to be in. And then, of course, now I'm out of a job in 30 days. I'm a young guy. I'm used to being able to go out and have a fun time and play golf and do that. And now I'm panicking because I don't have a job. So it was just a strange set of circumstances that created this marvelous round of golf. I can't say that I was practicing really hard before an event and I went and did this, although I played almost, as an assistant pro, I played almost all the time. So, and that was my home course. But 61 is 61. I don't care if you're playing miniature golf. That's a good score.
So there's got to be a lesson in there somehow, somewhere, about not paying attention to your score.
Oh, well, there's no two ways about it. I mean, I'm sure the listening audience will be nodding their head. Sometimes you don't feel real good, or maybe you've been out a little late and had a few too many cocktails, and the next day you go out and shoot a great round. And I think it's because we're not so conscious of what we're doing or trying to do anything. We just go ahead and swing and getting out of the way of ourselves. And I think the touring pros have a way to do that, where they let the subconscious take over. Anytime you do anything consciously, I think you get a little bit awkward. And so when we're learning how to play golf, we've got to do the learning on the driving range, and then we've got to trust the fact that we know what we're doing and go on the golf course and just get target oriented and let it go. And that's easier said than done.
Of course. Of course. Yeah. I have a friend, John Leland, who writes a blog called Joy of Golfing, joyofgolfing.com, not breaking 80 with joy and learning. He's never had the ability. He's never broken 80 in any of his rounds. And just recently he had the front 9 of his life, and he took a peek at his scorecard and started figuring out what he needed to do just to stay consistent with this and how he could do it. 'Cause I think he shot a 38 or a 39 on the front. So he's like, this is it. This is the round I'm going to do it. And of course he shot an 83. Which is probably one of his better rounds ever, but still, once he started figuring out what he needed to get, the pressure was on, and just no way it's going to happen.
Sure. Well, there's been so much written by so many of the psychologists, these people that feel they have to, be happy when you go. There was one pro there, I can't recall his name, but his gurus told him to have a smile on his face no matter what happened. Well, near the end of the round, he looked like a lunatic. I mean, this big grin that didn't relate to anything. And he did play pretty well, but then the next week when he tried it, it didn't work at all. And those kinds of cliched things never work. It's not that. And it's not that kind of a button, because again, that's a conscious thought to do something. It's just a feeling. It's like putting. I tell my students, look, if you don't feel like you're going to make the putt, you can have the purest stroke in the world. It's not going in. And if you feel like you're going to make the putt, you're not so consumed with take it back straight or do this or do that. You just roll the ball like you did when you were a kid and didn't understand the putting. You just had a stick and a ball and you hit the ball. There's a lot to that. But it's so hard, once you get some information, it's so hard to digest it and not keep regurgitating it mentally. And that's what we all do. And that's kind of why I like the method I've gone, because it's pretty simple stuff. It's not a lot of how to do things. And I think that's the hard part about this game, is letting go, trusting.
So the last couple minutes we have available, and actually there's more than a couple minutes, but I want to really dig into your theory on the lost fundamental here, and why it works versus what all the other instructors are pounding on us on TV and in print and our videos and everything else. You seem to think that this is the kind of fundamental that once you understand it, you can correct yourself, and you don't need to work with a pro all the time.
In its simplest form, we're playing off of one axis, and we're connecting the arms to the body and rotating around that axis. That's primarily what we're doing. Instead of shifting the weight to the right leg and then back to the left leg, which is, has been preached in the last few years, but many, many years ago, it wasn't preached. Because if you look at Jack Nicklaus, if you look at Arnold Palmer, if you look at Ben Hogan, those are all great players, and they did not move to the right. Now, they may have thought they were, but they were all rotating. They're all in that barrel. Okay, so if we eliminate that compensational move that we have to make from the right side back to the left, okay, and if we brace up against impact and merely coil from that point, if the left arm stays connected to the body and we uncoil, the club's got to come back to the starting position time and time and time again, opposed to throwing a club off of your body with your arms. And because the head of the club is heavier than the handle, the club head is going to rotate. So the club's going to be either open or closed most of the time. And therein lies the big problem. So you take that and then that transitional move of shifting the weight from almost all on the right side to almost all on the left side. My gosh, that's just too much to do in a millisecond. And that's why most people, they look, we have a driving range at the college, and you watch most people, they're on the right side when they hit the ball. They're just hanging back, as most people do. And someone will say, well, shift your weight. Well, that's the problem. They shifted their weight to the right side, and that is why they can't get off. Unless you're Nuria or somebody like that, a young guy that has total control of their body, you're going to be hanging back. And so you never hit it with your core. You never get the power that's within you. That's the thing that happens immediately when I start teaching people. They hit the ball higher and farther, and with no side spin. And they look at me like, why hasn't someone told me this? Well, it's been out there for a long time. It just hasn't been articulated in a simple form.
I also found myself, after Neil's lesson, that I was in a much more balanced position at finish than, especially with my driver, because usually, for some reason, why would we do this? When I have my driver in my hand, I swing harder, not faster. I swing harder, and after the swing, I am off balance and falling away from the swing.
Because when the arms go first, the body goes back. Mm-hmm. That's why in one era, your head moved away from the target on the downswing. and you ended up in the C position. But with the rotary swing, everything's moving through the ball. I mean, you look at Annika Sorensen, who was one of the greatest ball strikers, I think, of all time. Everyone says she looked like she was looking at the target when she hit the ball. That's exactly what she was rotating towards the target. So she wasn't working underneath. She was working level through the ball. You get tremendous power this way. And on top of it, you get accuracy because the left arm's not rotating. It's pressed against the chest turns open, the club head hits the ball. The feeling is a lot like how a hockey player hits the puck with a stick. It's that same rotational motion. And that's why hockey players, most of them, are pretty good golfers.
The other thing that Neil was very impressed with, well, I think it was almost an epiphany, is the point that you were making to him about the fact that hitting the ball, making contact with the ball, is not the end of the swing.
No, absolutely. That's the middle of the swing. The ball is a point of reference to align the club to, but it cannot be a target. If you're focusing on the back of the ball, hitting the back of the ball, you're going to decelerate the club. We all decelerate to some form. Everyone does, the best player in the world. But you're going to really decelerate. You're going to shut the thing down, and your body's going to stop. What we want to do is we want to rotate past the golf ball, and the last thing that hits that golf ball is that club head. So you're moving through it as you hit it. Now you're hitting it with your core, and you're going to get totally on the left side. In my concept, you're 60-40 to start, 70-30 at the top, but you still got to get to 99 plus. You still got to get against that left side prior to hitting the golf ball, not after hitting the golf ball, prior to hitting it. So by getting closer to that number, that 90 number, because you're in the 70s, you can get against that left side and through it quicker. The center of gravity of the body of every human being is below, a couple inches below the navel. The closer that center of gravity is to the pivot leg, which is the left leg, the faster you pivot. That's science. That's not me. Okay. So Ben Hogan and great players, whether they felt it or what, but they knew when they were against that left side earlier, they could hit the ball quicker, faster, and straighter. And that's what this is about. It's almost math, and in its simplicity, it helps people that don't have great eye-hand coordination hit this golf ball and put some compression against it, and that's what this is all about. You
can also hear it once you've made contact with the ball and you've hit it properly. You can definitely hear the difference.
Ball divot. You're not hitting divot ball.
Yeah.
When you put the club behind the ball, as I said to you and Neil, if I were to bring the club right straight back to this in motion, I would hit the divot and then I hit the ball. So we've got to move a little forward so that we can hit the ball on the downswing and then the divot. So there's a forwardness in the motion on the downswing. If you stay behind the ball, like we've all been told, you're going to hit behind the ball, because that's where the bottom of the swing is. So you've got to move that bottom a little forward. No matter if you shift to the right or the left, you got to end up against the left when you hit it. So I think a lot of the great left side players realize that if they stayed against the left and coiled their body and then uncoiled it, they can make contact more consistently. And I think that's what I see and what I hear when I'm giving a lesson. I can hear ball, divot.
Mm-hmm. And also, I need to get this clarified because it was a point that you're making when you were speaking with Neil about having your, for a right-handed golfer, your right shoulder pointing down the line towards your target when you're finished with your swing. And yet I've heard so many people talking about having your belt buckle pointing at the target.
Well, look, we're unwinding our core. Mm-hmm. through impact. Mm-hmm. And you could watch anybody enter it, especially the ladies, because they're more flexible than the men. But everybody's chest is left of the target. And you want to turn as far left of the target with your chest. As long as your left arm is connected, it'll be coming behind that movement. You want to turn as far left as you can. Just like in the backswing, when you coil one way, you get your back to the target. When we go through the ball, we want to get our chest left of the target with the right shoulder pointing at the target. And it doesn't hurt the back to do this because that's how we're built. It's when you drop those shoulders down, okay, and the left shoulder goes up and the right shoulder goes down, it's different than at address. Now you're going to be tweaking your back I don't believe in tilting the shoulders at all in the golf swing because I think you hurt your back. And not only that, but the width of your swing gets narrower, and the wider the path, the farther the hit. So when we're rotating a little bit more level, then the arms follow the body around, and you end up around the body instead of in front of the body. When I first learned to play golf, we finished real high with the hands. Not anymore. And you don't see anybody finishing high with the hands, or most, not very many, if they do at all.
And we should also, establish some credibility here beyond your 61 and all the work that you've done. You're the coach of the College of the Desert golf team, and you were telling me about the dynasty that you have with that program. What is it? The program has won the regionals how many years in a row now?
23 years straight, and remember, this is a 2-year school, so we've got a new golf team every 2 years.
Wow!
So we're doing something pretty good now.
And you've been with the program for 18 years.
I've been teaching the golf team for 18 years. I've been with the college 25.
Okay.
So for my 18 years, I've won 3 state championships, 18 conference championships, and numerous regional championships. And it's not just me, obviously. We have great weather here, great golf courses. I get some good players, but I think that I'm good at mentoring. I'm good at making them feel comfortable with themselves on the golf course.
And that leads us right back to want to wrap this up and let people know once again, go to golfsmarter.com and please purchase Tony's book for a number of reasons. One, it's going to improve your golf game. Number one, it's going to improve your game. Also, this is self-published by Tony. He's doing this on his own. That's why we don't have it on Amazon. That's why it's not on Audible. But it is right through Tony himself. The book is $20 and it's $4.95 for shipping within the United States. Outside the United States, it's going to be a little more for shipping, but it is so simple, so clean, and so helpful, so clear, so concise. It's called The Lost Fundamental: One Simple Move, Better Golf Forever by Tony Manzoni with Paul Cervantes. Tony, as always, I really enjoy having you come on to Golf Smarter. Thank you so much for sharing all your information with us.
Well, I thank you too. Your program is just fantastic, and what a wonderful thing for people to be able to download crazy people like myself and other people and get some golf information and have some fun with this wonderful sport.
Well, these crazy people, we flock together.
That's right now. Take care of yourself.